And we're live. There we go. Eli Gardiner. There we go. Thank
All
you for
right.
coming back. Thanks for coming back.
Yeah, this is great.
Good to see you again.
Great.
So I was trying to figure out because the last time you came on the show, I feel like it was another record release, but like, how long was that? 2 years or 3 years ago? At this point,
I think it's going on 3, right? Because like my last time I was on the show wasn't my last album, but it was my first album in the Twin Cities.
that's right.
The Fire and the Medicine, which was in 2020.
That's right.
Yep.
Whoa, that's really That's a while. That's a while back. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, that's a side. Have you been in the Twin Cities for what is it? Is this going on 5? Or
Yeah.
4 years?
It's going on 6 summer. The summer will be 6 years. Yeah.
And you're Michigander originally, right?
Yep. Originally. Yep.
I'm sorry if I already asked you this, but did you come from UP or the Mitten one?
So I'm originally from the UP. Yeah.
Okay.
I moved here from Virginia, where I was at for a few years as well. But
What
Yep.
brought you down to Virginia? Were you doing school, or were you just like trying to go up music down there?
I had a job. I'm a photojournalist, so I work for different TV stations and stuff. So
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
but that's where I really started doing music more as like as a performer, and
Yeah.
instead of just like a closet bedroom songwriter.
What is it? It's like the now it's all starting to make a little bit more sense of just like, oh, I had no idea you were like actually in photojournalism as a background. It's like now it's all kind of coming together,
Yeah.
so to speak. That's cool. Okay, so did you go to back to UP before you went to the Twin Cities, or did you just make the jump? Like, nah, we're just doing Twin Cities. I
Yeah,
know.
no, I made the jump. I haven't actually lived in the UP of Michigan for a while.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah,
That
but
makes- yeah.
that's where I grew up. That's where I'm from, and I head back every summer and jump in Lake Superior.
It's gorgeous up there. So, sorry if I feel distracted. I'm just like, wait, how much time does this song have? No, it's like seriously, like I daydream about trying to do a Lake Superior tour.
Yeah,
Like trying to, because there's
not much on the north side, but
that's the problem. That's the problem because like there is I have developed relationships with a few things on one side of the lake. And then there are a few places. I have a few Canadian friends that told me like I can cold call, but there's just like this zone where it's just like, do you camp? Do you just like call it a wash and just like kind of enjoy the scenery? Like, what do you know, like, do you get a motel? Like, depending on who's with you, because like that is something I would do alone.
yeah, that sounds amazing actually. But yeah, I can't even think of what is on the north side of Lake Superior as far as
I've never been that.
I don't think there's many
I've
cities.
only done Toronto and well, stand by. We're gonna be going on the thing here.
Sounds good.
Just gonna turn down my headphones. Okay, so that is Lamar, new Lamar, and Lamar is playing Best New Bands this weekend, actually, at the main room. But speaking of things happening associated at First Avenue venues, Eli Gardiner, you're playing the Turf Club tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm excited. Tomorrow, it's the album release show.
Yeah, this is going to be awesome because the bill is actually pretty darn good. Who's playing with you, and when does music start?
So doors are at 7. Music starts at 7:30. Nick Hensley kicks it off as a duo, and then Emmy Woods has her full band, and Ryan Gebhardt has his full band.
Oh, no way. So we actually just heard Ryan Gebhardt in that last set right before Lamar. Eric Koskinen kicked it off. And Eric actually plays with a lot of cats I feel like are in Nick's orbit. But I'm glad you mentioned Nick Hensley and Emmy Woods because
as serendipity has it, that is the timing of the next set. Those two artists are right back to back. So if you like what you hear and you're just tuning in, this is Desert Islands. This is the show where I make mixtapes based on my guests. 10 records they would bring to a desert island. Today I'm making one for Eli Gardiner, and Eli actually put some of these artists on the list. So if you like what you hear, you can hear it again tomorrow, starting with Emmy Woods here on KFAI.
Have you heard of some of these that I put on from the UP?
Some of the artists?
Yeah.
Is Ryan from? Because like
no. I don't think so.
Who's from the
UP? The Shantymen.
No. All right, so that makes that was one of the artists I was like, I don't know who that was a cool record.
It's crazy. The songwriter and the band leader is Chris Moore. I know him from the UP.
I know that name for some reason.
Yeah, he and he just released that album, I think, on streaming. It's an old album. It's it came out like 20 years ago or something, but like
really,
maybe not 20 years ago, maybe less than that.
Well, I mean, at this point, like 20 years ago is 2004, so I shouldn't be like all aghast, like, like a lot of stuff was happening 20 years ago that So I guess it really wasn't that.
It's close to 12, 15 though.
Yeah, and that's so kind of crazy because I was doing so like those like stupid time hop memory things that social media puts in. And it's just like lately it's been doing like when it was like 5 years ago and it's just like, hey, this day 5 years ago you were playing the Turf Club and you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then it's just like now it's doing like, hey, this day 10 years ago you were playing the Fine Line, and I'm just like, that's kind of cool. And it's just like the gap is just like, is this cool? Like, at what point is this scary? Like, this is really
time is a construct, right? Doesn't matter, right?
It's weird. And it's kind of like what is that? Like what is it, the Monkey Wrench Gang, where like the main character, like Hey Duke, he measures time in 6-packs that it takes like to ride on his motorcycle. I feel like I have been measuring time in bands, where it's just like, that was like for me like 3 or 4 bands ago. Which is, that's kind of like about 15 years ago.
But that's kind of the great thing about music, because I've started to really appreciate like the album process and the recording process, because it really does mark a moment in time.
I've been trying to really think about it like, no, this is like rings on the tree.
Yeah,
that's just what a tree does. That's what you do. Mm-hmm. And it's like, and it's because it's really easy to get distracted about why you started doing it, if that makes sense. Where it's just like once you keep going, things happen, and then you're like, oh, let's do this, and then you remember, you're like, wait, the reason I was doing this was really for this, and it's just so it's like the album process is good because like I feel like there's like a weird grieving process in it. Maybe I'm only projecting this because I'm going through it right now. I released a record almost a year ago next month, so now I'm in that phase where it's just like, what? Why the hell did I do that? What am I like? You're in that phase where I'm just like, all right, let's get rid of all this.
Like, no, it is the next thing. I think it's a way of getting things down.
Yeah,
and it is a moment in time, because I've been asking like, for the shows and stuff, do you want to play the record parts? I'm like, no, the songs are going to be alive and they're going to change and flow.
I am with you on that. I do think every song should be a living, breathing document.
That's the type of music I like. I hate when bands play their song to a T at a live show. Like, that to me is boring. It's like a it's not like an art thing. It's more of like a performer, I guess.
Yeah, I see it. And it's like I always was like kind of gun shy of like taking ownership of this analogy because I am such a mediocre skater. But like I do kind of see it as like a skate session of just like you're kind of covering the terrain. Like each room is different, each audience is different, and you kind of have to deal with what's there. You know, like you might have been able to do something really awesome at home at like the really nice like little thing that you built with your friends, but like here it's different. So like you gotta respond to what you're riding on and like who's around you, and like and I absolutely feel that with like musicians. Like you're kind of riding a wave together, and you're all kind of like testing your own limitations, and part of that is like, you know, like sometimes you're in a new market and everyone in the audience is already drunk, and like you gotta you gotta like kind of like or like, all right, we gotta like it's like the pitcher. It's like, all right, we're starting to throw fastballs right away.
It's
you know, or sometimes you like approach a room where you're like the performer before you killed it, but in a different way, like in a different way than you kill it, and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Let's start with a ballad first, because this audience is clearly here for a listening room, not like, you know, and then like that would like kill the vibe.
Yeah.
And like I feel like that's why I think like every song should be a living, breathing document, because like I do think you are communicating with the audience. Like they're there, like people got babysitters for this, so like they're there for a good time. So like you I don't know. I definitely.
But there's the line for me is like it's good to feel the room and everything, but you don't want to pander.
No,
you don't want to pander. You don't want to be like, I think they'll like this cover song when you play it, no one cares. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I definitely feel you there, because I am not. I think to a fault, I am definitely one of those people who refuses to pander. And now I'm not trying. I'm trying not to see it as like more of like, I don't know. For me, what I won't do a cover song, but like sometimes I will just kind of, you know, song forms allow you to just kind of sit on a groove for a second. Like you're playing a 12-bar blues, or like you're you know, like you're kind of like looping back onto the one or something. Like I'll kind of sit on something like that and kind of improvise on that, and like kind of feel out where the room is at, and see if just like, do they want you to pick it up a little bit, or do they want you to kind of sit back so they can kind of sip on their drinks and enjoy each other's company and kind of like absorb the vibe, and like you're kind of enhancing that, because that is something I think a lot of people
that's just being open to that's being open to the feeling of what's going on in the moment.
Yes. And I think a lot of performers don't realize that like until you're in that position where it's just like, no, sometimes like you're just there with your partner and they're close friends on a date, and they're really enjoying the music, but they're also like enjoying like, and you're kind of like making that moment. And it's like, I think sometimes songwriters take like every audience noise as like disrespect, when it's just like, you gotta let that roll off your back and understand that like you're kind of making memories. Like it's like, to a certain extent, just because you're on stage doesn't mean it's about you. But then there are times where it's just like your show coming up, it's definitely about you. It should be about you.
And there's a different pressure to that, I think.
Absolutely there is. Absolutely. It's why like I think stand-up comedians film multiple like they do 4 nights at that theater, and that's their special. It's like they tape like 4 nights of it. Because each night's gonna be a little bit different, and like sometimes like the version of this song is gonna feel a little, it's like, man, when we did it on Thursday, it was just electric, and then like you're kind of riding high on that moment, and you're like, it was good, but something wasn't.
Yeah, it's almost
like that thing.
doing these kind of full band shows. I've learned is it's almost like a trust fall where I have an idea of the song, and I know the song.
Yeah.
And I've the people I play with are good enough musicians where I trust them to
Yes.
like pick up what I'm doing and
Yeah.
feel where it's going to go.
Absolutely.
And that to me is something I've done the last couple of years where I think I've grown like as a musician is just understanding like what the form is.
Yeah. I totally feel you there, because I like in my 20s I was definitely that. It was like, no, break all the rules, and now I'm just like, I think I should have learned how to just it's like baking a cake. It's just like, I think I should have just learned how to make a really good cheesecake first, like. And now I'm kind of going back, like now I'm like thinking about writing actual songs of just like, okay, I talk a lot of yang on 1-5-6-4, but like, have I ever actually tried to write a 1-5-6-4 pop song? I don't know if I have. Or if I have, I didn't like it, and I was just like, stupid. Like, was it stupid, or I didn't actually get my hands dirty? So now I'm curious. Like, now I'm kind of going back to like, can I write in the standard form? Or am I using the experimentation as a crutch? Now I'm kind of like trying to get back to the like I'm doing like rudiments again when I'm like practicing like metronome and scales. I'm just like, it's just like, but I think there's something there. I think there is something to that, but like I do think you need to leave it. But I think I left it for so long. It's time for I don't know. Just stand by. We're going back.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, Blaze Foley, Oval Room, Nick Hensley. With this, I love the idea behind this song, and this is a great song. Feed the dog, mow the lawn, and at the top of that set, Emmy Woods. If you're just tuning in, this is Desert Islands, and I'm making a mixtape for Eli Gardiner. And if you happen to be in the Twin Cities where we're broadcasting live, well, you can see these fabulous shows happening this weekend and beyond in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, where KFAI 90.3 Minneapolis is broadcasting from, right here on the West Bank. So tonight, speaking of the West Bank, Willa Waters, her residency is going to continue at Palmer's Bar, second Wednesday of the month. And this week we have Two Old Cat and Lake Dobby. Yellow Ostrich is also having a residency this month at Ice House, and it's going to feature Bathtub Sig and Mega Sound. Tomorrow, of course, Eli Gardiner, the release show. We are going to be talking about this, and I'm just going to let Eli talk about it later. But Friday, Silent Treatment, we talked to them last week. It's their release show this week, and in the main room, we have Best New Bands. We heard Lamar earlier, but we're also going to hear some Claire Doyle, who's also playing that show and is also on Eli Gardiner's Desert Island Picks list. But Burr Barlow, L.A. Buckner, who is long overdue for some local love, because LA is amazing. LA Buckner and Big Homie, Reiki, and She's Green. Great shoegaze band. Some cool bands happening this Friday. But also another cool thing, one of my favorite places to play music and see music, the Cedar Cultural Center, is going to be celebrating their 35th anniversary show. Mumla Bugs, Cat Johnson Project, and Poverty Hash. So Cedar's 35th anniversary show this Friday. Speaking of anniversary shows, let's celebrate the anniversary of Sean Anonymous's birthday show at the Entry, and then Happy Apple at the Ice House. That's on Saturday. Of course, on Sunday, you can check out WrestlePalooza. That's always a good time. See some wrestling in the main room. But also Sunday, Loki Fell.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm doing my best. I'm doing that. That is my New Year's resolution, to do my best. Flintlock and Lodi, this is their release show at Palmer's. It's happening this Sunday. Looking ahead, Ben Cook Phelps is having the release. So taking over Tuesdays at the 331 Club all month. And then, of course, Nikki Pepper is going to be presented by this show at Palmer's Bar, 4th Wednesday of every month at Palmer's. And Nikki Pepper, she is our guest this month. She's from Wisconsin. She said she wasn't going to play shows. Now she is again. So always excited to have Nikki play. And it's crazy because I feel like I want to shout out before we go back to the off mic segment, because we are talking with Eli Gardiner here on the show. But we just played some Nick Hensley in that last set. And Nick Hensley, I feel like we all owe kind of like a debt of gratitude, because one, he runs probably in my opinion, one of the best songwriter showcases to play. But he's also just like really good. You know, like I think everyone gives him his props where it's just like, oh man, like one of the first gigs I ever got was because of Nick Hensley. It's just like, yeah, it's like I do want to give the man his flowers there, because we need people like that, like just holding that, keeping that flame alive. But like, let's also give credit for the fact that the dude can sing, play harmonica, and like he's just really good. He's really good. So I'm glad you have him on the bill, because it's just like, if you haven't seen him play, he's just a craftsman. He's good at it, and he any bill he puts together is good. But I bring up Nikki Pepper and some of the lineup, and it's like, because I feel like it, in a weird way, we kind of all were in that like orbit for a hot second. Like I definitely feel like the first time I met you away from keyboard was at one of those.
Yeah, I think so.
I've seen Nikki play those, you know, and this is kind of where I got to be friends with a lot of y'all. So like, just hats off to Nick Hensley, who is playing this show tomorrow. Emmy Woods, we also heard in that set. And then, yeah, as I said before that, Blaze Foley. So yeah, this show is tomorrow at the Turf Club. We heard a lot. I'm pretty sure we heard everybody in the supporting cast, but we haven't heard your new record yet. So let's change that, and then follow us off mic. We are streaming on the YouTubes and the Facebooks, and please don't do it while you're driving, because this gets archived. You can watch it later. But we're going to be talking about the record and all that fun stuff. But it is like officially the top of the hour here at KFAI, and here at Fresh Air Community Radio. We have shows like this one, Desert Islands, hosted by me. You can call me Doc. And I have Eli Gardiner here, and I'm making a mixtape based off of his Desert Island records. But he's releasing a record, so I want to listen to that and then hang out with us off mic. But it's the top of the hour here at KFAI, and this is new Eli Gardiner.
Can you still hear me?
Yep, I got you.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we get a lot of people tuning in at the top of the hour, so I was just like, I want to do the in-depth thing, but it's also just like, just play the song. I was like, let me.
Oh, that was great. Look, you're 100% correct though about Nick Hensley and the community that's kind of created around the Songwriter Showcase.
It's like I made the joke of like with a reference of stand-up comedians. That was like his showcases were like, that was like the first time I started to feel kind of like the way stand-ups talk about their craft, because it was like there was a time where it's just like a lot of the prominent Americana folk we see performing today were just either playing that thing or hanging out there.
Yep.
And I always really appreciated Nick giving me a shot, because I always was trying. I I kind of feel bad because I would always treat that stage like an open mic. Like I was going in there trying stuff. Like I had only performed 3 times in my bedroom, where it's just like, all right, I finished writing it. Batter up.
But I think that's how I've treated it too, as a writing thing, where it's like, here's a new song. I don't know how this is gonna go. We have these other musicians that can fill it out, and then you're like, wow, that was great, or maybe that needs work or whatever.
But everyone's so good, and so like Taylor James Donsky is another cat I met through that circle.
Me too.
You know, and of course, late great Tucker Jensen, who was like one of the people I always felt like I could joke around and be brutally honest with, which kind of helps me because I grew up on the East Coast. So like I like to a fault can't help not doing it.
I'm kind of the same way.
But like he always provided a safe space to do that, because like I think like with
an open mind,
him, you know, well, like, you know, he cared. That's kind of what it was about. Like it wasn't destructive criticism. It was like he knew you could do better. and it was kind of like, but he was never like, it was like we had the same wavelength, you know. Like right away we had a conversation where like I would like immediately own, like I was just like, man, I totally biffed that section, and he would be like, yeah you did. Like that kind of thing. Never in a bad way, like always in a way that like it made me feel better. And that's what I appreciate about Tucker. Like he was a guy, like anytime you hung out with him, you felt better walking away from that conversation.
Yeah, it's interesting because like I never met Tucker.
Oh yeah.
I think everything that happened kind of happened right before I moved here.
No way. Oh, he was so good too. He was so good.
But that kind of room is a special thing, because I've been to a lot of open mics and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not really different. It's not an open mic. It is really a writer's room where you're expected to bring in original material. You know, occasionally it'll be a cover, but what it's for is to bring your own stuff.
And it is, I've heard it can be kind of an intimidating spot, because I don't want to say it's like exclusive, but like it's not an open mic in the sense of like just anyone can sign up. Right. But I've always kind of appreciated that, because I feel like everyone there kind of is at that level, where it's like they're all there because they want to write better stuff. They're all there because they want to perform the stuff that they like better. Not that people aren't doing that at open mics in general.
Yeah, but it's a different vibe, because like
it's a different vibe.
The first time I played the Songwriter Showcase, it was totally different, because I've played a lot of open mics, like I said, and after you're finished playing your original music, it's like no one really cares. But there's an appreciation. And if it's something there that's an original song, and they can appreciate, there's just that understanding, like, oh, you hit something there.
Well, it's also like everyone there is good. There's like and good in their own ways, which is really cool. Like, and I always appreciated that about that room. And not to bring the skateboard metaphor again, but like that, where like a lot of open mics, there feels like there's like this weird like iron sharpens iron, and everyone's trying to be the same Nashville sound. That is a place where like everyone's just doing them.
Yes, that's the vibe. Yep.
And it's really cool to like watch people
find your voice.
Yes, and they're crafting their voice, not trying to be like, oh, like nothing wrong with Chris Stapleton. He's amazing, but like it's just like there are open mics I've played where it's like you go on the road and you're like trying to find a gig and they're like, hey, you can be the guest host at the open mic. You do 20 minutes and then you're the MC. And it's like everyone's a phenomenal musician, but it's just like you're clearly like, you know what algorithm everyone is watching, where it's just like, oh, okay, I know what YouTubers you're watching because you're like, and it's like either you're like doing childers or like, or you're doing this bell, like whatever. Like it's like everyone's like imitating somebody, and it's great. These are great people to imitate, but like Plums felt like no one was trying to, like, if they were imitating, they were covering that song, but even then, they were kind of making it their own.
Yeah, and I think there's something about like the backing players that he gets to play. You know, Nick Salisbury is usually there on bass. And he's
rock solid.
and just one of the the hardest working bass player in town, I'll say, and the best too. But there's people like that just have this understanding of a song and how to bring it up, and make it better just by what how they approach it. So that's a total unique thing too. You don't see that at open mics, and
because it's also one of those things that like it's kind of like the magician's card trick. Like they're so good at it, I don't think an audience would really know the craft it takes for them to just be that good at it.
Right.
You know, where it's like we go 100%. In there and be like, and it's like, whoa, like you have never heard this song before, and you're already and it's like that, like arranging on the fly is a skill that I feel like is overlooked because people don't really understand what's happening, and they don't really. It's like kind of like a good sound tech, like a bad. Like sound tech, everyone blames the sound, but like when a good sound tech is good, you
don't think about it. It just you hear music.
Yeah, and that's like a good bass player who's up there, just kind of like like no one knows how good bass players are, or good drummers, because I feel like everyone expects a good drummer to be like either Travis Barker or like. Or like Buddy Rich, like the acrobatic, like animal stuff. Like it's just like, but like no one appreciates like how much work it is to just have like that Stanley Jordan pocket for like just a country ballad, and that's hard to do.
Yeah,
but it doesn't look hard. Like it's like, and it's just like there's just certain things like, and everyone in that circle kind of has that thing, and I really. So like getting a compliment from those circles, I felt like always meant more, because like everyone is on that journey of just like they're trying to figure out how to make it better, and it's just like it just felt more genuine from a circle.
And that was the thing when I first started going there. I felt, for lack of a better term, seen. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because I've been writing songs for a long time and kind of finding my voice through that. But it's the first time where I felt like, oh, I'm in a room with people that are doing the same thing.
Yes.
Understand what I'm going for.
Yes.
And that can support it.
Yeah.
Which is a huge thing.
Yeah.
And so when I first moved here, I'd hit the ground running because I started going to those open mics and the songwriter showcase I heard about through that. And that's really how I formed my band too, was meeting people at the songwriter showcase.
This because good musicians go to those things. Straight up, like it's true. Okay, so after this song, and this song's like a really long song, we'll be back on the air, but I definitely want to talk about how you made this record, and like just like that kind of thing, but like give a chance to shout out like who you collaborated with and that kind of thing, just because like that we are here to promote it, and just like kind of where people can get it now that we've played it on the air, that kind of thing. But since we're kind of like in this side of things, if there's anything specific you want to mention, because the radio audience is a slightly different audience, bring up during a talk break. Like if you have tour dates planned or like something post-release where it's just like, hey, check out my YouTube channel for, like, let me know, because we can always just, I can just ask you a question that'll let you tee off and be like, by the way, this, that, and the thing, and the,
Yeah.
Just let me know.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, so who is in your band these days?
So the main band, like, I have a lot of people I play with now, but
Yeah.
from the showcase, I met Greg Schutte.
Okay. Yeah.
And I met him through Nick Salisbury and
Yeah.
Dan Schwartz.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then this past summer, I started playing with Kevin Gamble, who's on keys.
Oh yeah. And I've seen Kevin around a lot too.
Yeah. Yep. He does a lot of jazz stuff now. He started doing some stuff I think he has a residency at the Green Room right now, like on a Tuesday.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And he plays with a lot of other bands too around town, but he's great. And so that just added a new dimension to the sound and the dynamics we can do,
Oh yeah. And it's also like, I think it's kind of like why people talk about like eras of Dylan, because it's just like they were different bands, and like the chemistry between players is always gonna be it's always it's not better or worse, it's just different. Like it's a different vehicle every time. And
so at the Turf Club it's going to be Lars Erik Larsson on drums.
He's another drummer that is a great drummer, plays with a lot of folk too.
I'm excited to play with him. It's going to be I'm just lucky that there's all those kind of type of players that kind of can jump in and play, and I've taken some time to kind of find people that I think fit into what I do, and so
it's kind of crazy, the talent pool and I know it's like kind of like the typical local angle to gush about the talent pool in the local scene, but it's just like it's kind of absurd. Like you have to go, or at least in my experience, you usually have to go to like one of the bigger markets or like one of the mega cities to find. But like the resources are just here. Like there are so many good players in town. It's kind of crazy. It's like it's pretty awesome to see everyone work together too, because that's a good band right there. That's a good band right there.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. It feels every time I get to play with those guys, it's so much fun.
How much improv do you do? Like, do you kind of do it like a blues band where it's just like this section we're gonna, or is like, is it just kind of like really fast and loose every night?
I mean, for some shows, depending, I don't really. I'll kind of do a set list on the fly, but like for full band stuff, I usually have something down, just for their sake. But there's songs that will just change, and we we had a rare rehearsal the other day, but there were songs I was like, we're not going to practice these ones. We're just going to see what happens at the show.
There are a few songs that
like you can't really practice these songs. This is going to be what it is.
It's hard to explain it. Like I feel like it is hard to explain, but there are some songs that you can't really practice because it's like the song structure is like strophic, where like it's kind of like it's not. It's almost not worth practicing, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
because it's like it's so part of like, okay, whatever happens in this moment with this thing is just kind of like, and they're the type of players you already trust are like doing their homework like away from the practice room anyway. Like that's a thing where it's like, I think a lot of bands are like, oh yeah, you practice at the practice. It's like, no, you practice. You just practice, and then when you like come into rehearsal, it's like you're trying to like you're trying to like form an emotional bond, or at least for me, that's how I feel like. A lot of good musicians don't need to like do weekly rehearsals.
Yeah, I mean, so there's some improv going on. But I mean, for me, the songs are what they are, and then there's parts within the songs
Sure.
that will not structurally change, but like the length of the the bar or how it breaks
Yeah.
down or comes
Yeah.
back in, and that kind of thing can change a little bit.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, and then it's also, some of the stuff we're playing some new stuff at the Turf Club, which is going to be fun. But
Yeah.
but some of the song selections with full band, I don't get too complicated with the songs I pick. But I'm excited that we're going to be able to do some newer things in some songs off the new album too. So,
Oh yeah.
which is all acoustic. So this is going to
Yeah.
be a totally different treatment for that.
Yeah. It's like, are you going to do more electrified versions of some of this stuff, or like, like, okay, that's yeah, because you're absolutely, because a lot of the because your record before this, I don't, was your live record before this one?
Yep, in the summer in June.
Yeah. Like it's, there's definitely a little bit more grit to the guitar tones,
Yep.
and it's just like, that's just like so is it going to be kind of like a hybrid sound of that?
Yes, because there's going to be some stuff from the live album that we're going to play as well.
Sure.
And then some more, the quieter stuff, electrified is a good way to put it.
Yeah. I am going to make sure I don't have any underwriting things I need to play, and then we are going to be back on the air here, so stand by. Okay, so that was brand new music by Loki Fell. Okay, like I said, that whole local segment is curated by stuff you send me. So if you want to hear me mispronounce your band name on the air, email it to desertislandskfai@gmail.com. I curate that whole segment, the local shows and the local music by the stuff you say, hey, I'm releasing a thing. So I apologize if I am butchering that name, but they are releasing that record at Palmer's this Sunday. And Taylor James Donsky, who we also heard in that set, is releasing that single. I believe it's already out, or if it's about to be out. And then we also heard Transient off of Transient, the new record by Eli Gardiner, who I am speaking with right now here on Desert Islands. So you changed up your Desert Islands pick list. I do have some things from the old mixtape on here, but you also have some regional songwriters on this list. And so we'll talk about them a little bit later, but I want to talk about who you collaborated with on this new record, and what was your recording process on this new record? Because off mic we were talking about, like, yeah, it is a little bit more acoustic. Was this something you did like kind of on your own, or did you kind of pass tracks back and forth with a lot of folk? Walk me through the process of Transient.
Yeah, it was done. This is my big home studio recording project.
Yeah.
I had a lot of new songs that more acoustic based, and some older ones too that I wanted to record. And so last winter, I set myself up, and I would just go in at night and do live takes, vocals and guitar.
Nice.
And I did that for a couple months, and I ended up with these songs. And then I started sending them out to my friend Dan Schwartz.
Yeah.
And he was doing different layers. There's a Transient. He layered, 6 or 7 different tracks on that. And then Justin Reichen, who plays bass, is on that as well. But it was the type of thing where we were just sending them, emailing tracks, and I was getting stuff back, and it was like Christmas morning.
It really does sound
like it was, I mean, like it was obviously performed live, but like it really sounds like the instruments were all together performed live. So like it's crazy how you were able to play off each other and make it feel so organic. How long of a process was this? Like, did you just kind of like Nick Drake, Pink Moon, like one weekend? It's like, whoa, I got an idea. Let's or this like kind of all winter. You were kind of, you know, a gradual, like a labyrinth. You were just kind of letting it unfold.
It took about, I mean, as far as like, I had an idea where I was setting limitations on myself where I wanted to, I hate like overdubbing vocals,
Sure.
especially if in my home studio, like, because I don't have a lot of fancy microphones or anything. It's pretty basic.
Right.
So, but I wanted to get that sound down. And so it was a lot of experimenting with that on how I could sound decent playing and singing at the same time, and then embracing the bleed of the audio and everything as well, or trying to minimize that. So that was a process through last summer, and then once it started getting cold, I think the mood really shifted, and I was able to embrace that with playing these songs and just performing them and doing them. You know, I'd sit down and play 3 or 4, you know, in the evening while the house was sleeping, and try to time it between the heat kicking on. And I just kind of picked my favorite take and lived with it, and then started sending out the tracks and getting stuff back.
I think that's a really liberating way of doing things, because I feel like I have that brain where if I don't set a limitation like that, it will just sit there forever in this, like, but if you just kind of be like, nope, this is it. This is the piece. We're going to sculpt around this. And I much prefer to have like live takes, just because I do think there is, if we are trying to capture a moment, well, there we go. We recorded a moment. You know, like pick the best, pick your favorite moment, and kind of let that. Otherwise, and I know other people have a different process, but I really like that process. I like the way it feels.
I think it's the form. Yeah, the how you want things to sound should. I think it should be how you want the things to sound. Then you figure out how to get that through the process. And that's kind of what I did with this. And I had done that kind of recording in the past, but never to this extent.
Yeah.
And so as it was a way of challenging myself as well, because I had jumped into the whole side of mixing and mastering and producing my own stuff with my live album I put out in June. That was recorded live at the Astor Cafe, and that was a full band thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, if I can mix this live album where I like how it sounds, I should be able to do it at home too, right?
Yeah.
Just with vocals and guitar and a few other guitars and some bass, and yeah.
I always it's one of the questions I like asking friends after they record something is like, what did you learn on this one? Because for me, like anytime I make something, it's just like you learn something that just you like look at everything you've ever done. It's like, well, if I knew that, I would. And it's just like it sounds like it's like this was a really good process of just like, oh, well, if I did this, what if we tried this? And for me, I think the best way to learn is to actually just do it. Like,
I agree.
So if folks like what they heard at the top of the set, where can they hear it again? Do you have a preferred place? I know streaming is kind of a controversial deal, but if folks want to get their hands on it, is there a place where they can get physical copies, streaming? Where's your preferred place?
You know, I haven't done any physical copies for this album yet. I probably will eventually, but I just didn't feel any rush with this. I think physical copies are great to have at shows. But that being said, I think a lot of people, you know, don't play CDs anymore. So my ideal situation is to sell enough T-shirts where I can press this to vinyl.
Yeah, that's
what I want to do. So right now there's no physical
traveling
copies.
T-shirt salesman. That's what we are.
I have new T-shirts too that I like. But anyway, I am so there's no physical copies. There won't be any at the show, but the best way to support is to go to my Bandcamp page and purchase from me there. If you can't do that, streaming's fine too. You know, I think I kind of have mixed feelings about streaming, but I think overall it's good to get your stuff out there, and any way that people want to listen to the music is fine with me.
I treat it like a search engine of just like if it's if it's not on there, it's like it doesn't exist. But like having it, like is it the best? No, but I mean, I think it's more of like, hey, if you tried it on at streaming and you like it,
but if you want to listen to some music and see what it sounds like, and then come to shows, that's the way to do it.
That's the preferred method. So, if you like what you hear, and if you would like the preferred method, Eli Gardiner is playing tomorrow at the Turf Club if you are in the Twin Cities. If you are one of our friends who listens to the show after the fact, and I know there are a lot of you, and thank you for that. You can check out Eli Gardiner. Is it just EliGardiner.com?
Yes.
There we go. EliGardiner.com. So up next we got some Sarah Morris, and we have some Claire Doyle, but first we're gonna have this.
KFAI is proud to present Corey Harris and Cedric Watson at the Cedar Cultural Center on Thursday, January 18th. Corey Harris and Cedric Watson grace our stage together.
I feel like I'm so terrible at these underwriting cards. I have to like.
How many you have to?
I think this is the last one. I tried to get them all played before you came on, and part of that is kind of like hard to do just because like it has to be at a certain time slot, you know, so I can't just like but part of it is also just like you are at the mercy of my ADHD. Like if I forget, I might have to just play a clump of them at the you know, so and it's really easy if I get caught up in a conversation to just be like, oh no, we have 4 minutes. Like, and it just happens, and luckily no one's really complained, but I don't like if you're complaining about my show, your brand might have bigger fish to fry, whether or not I played your spot at 9:23 versus 9:42. Like if I can't be the fish that saved Pittsburgh here. Like we need to lower the stakes. Like so I'm doing my best.
I think you're doing great.
Please underwrite on this show. I don't want to scare you away. I do take it seriously, and I do play them. It's just sometimes they're not on time. But yeah, got those. We are done with them. I do have to do like the standard legal ID, but I'm just going to find a talk break to do that before, and then I'm going to reintroduce you. So that's fine. But yeah, anything specific you would want to bring up in the next couple talk breaks? Because like we're not quite at 11:30, but like it's gonna be, and then at that point it's just like we have like 15 minutes, and it's just like we might have only had time for like one or two more, and one of them might be like the sum up, like, hey, thanks for coming on the show, you're the person that came on the show, this person's doing this thing, where can you follow? Like that's gonna be one of them. But is there anything you want to like specifically talk about next break when we have both audiences simultaneously?
We could talk about the North Country Song Sessions.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, let's do that. Oh no, wait. Okay, I'm getting a Zoom. Okay, I always feel bad. This is why I don't answer phone calls on the air, just because I'm not ignoring you as much as I don't want to accidentally patch something, you know, or accidentally kick off the guest that I had, because we are live, and the problem with the software we use is I can't just stop it and start it again.
Is that your phone? I hear.
No, it's there's just kind of like a sound effect at the
Okay.
beginning of this tune that I really thought kind of blended well with like the ambience on that Sarah Morris track.
Oh, cool. Do you know Michael Waite?
No, not personally.
Actually, we could talk about the UP connection actually with these songs if you want. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Because like it's how many? Because I know James Eugene Russell. Does he have like tacit connections with the UP? I know he's mainly, but I like.
I don't know. I'm not referring to James.
But like, how many UP artists do you have on here? Because I know you have at least two. You two? Okay, yeah.
Michael Waite and the Shantymen, yeah.
Yeah. So like, are these like cats that you came up with, or like just? Okay, nice.
These are people that I saw play like even before I was really playing shows.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Whoa,
in the Marquette, Michigan area.
How is the Marquette scene? Like, have you been back in recently?
Yeah, it's kind of gone. It used to be really good because there was a venue there called Upfront and Company that would bring in regional touring acts, and like I remember Communist Daughter coming over, the Melismatics, bands like that would come over and play because it was a good venue.
Yeah,
but they closed down a while ago, and it hasn't really been the same since.
Yeah, I do remember that venue. I remember actually setting up a gig there, and we had it canceled because of the snowstorm.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was like it was just one of those things where it was just like the promoter was just like, kid, I was already taking a risk, like booking you know, like if it was like a hometown favorite, like I could see people coming in, but like you're on the road, like don't come. And I'm like, no, that's fair. I don't think we should. Yeah, so like we just kind of played the Wisconsin show and turned back.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like I do remember that venue, but I never got to play it.
I played it a few times. Just how it was set up was really amazing. The sound was good too.
Yeah.
It was they had a dance floor, like
I've heard
bigger acts, like they had bigger acts too. Like I remember I saw Vince Neil there. The Verve Pipe.
Whoa, that's a man. They had some cool stuff, I think.
7 Mary 3.
Yeah.
Brett Michaels.
Wow.
So I mean, they bringing acts like that where it's a big enough venue, but then they also did like during the week, you know, local people, and then weekends was a lot of regional touring acts. But there's a place called the Ordock Brewing Company that does a little bit of that.
I've seen.
I know Charlie Parr's played up there. I think Koskinen played up there.
Yeah,
but it's not the same really. It's not the same kind of venue, you know. So
well, it's also like and I found this like during the pandemic because like I'm definitely an act that can translate to that kind of thing.
Yeah,
but like the Melismatics, like good band. They're not a brewery circuit band, you know, like it's like, and it's nothing wrong with that. It's just like certain things are just,
like if you can be a band and play the room as a band. Yeah. It's totally different thing.
It's like, and it's just like, so it's not that like, I don't know. It's, there's something different with like a black box theater that can like, sometimes you'll have like Joshua Ray Walker, but you also have Vince Neil come in because the sound system is like big enough to push a little bit. And with a brewery, sometimes like they can only afford a system that it's just like, we can do a rock band if they bring their own amps, and we only do vocals through the PA, you know. But like it's like that Americana stuff is just easier to.
There's still a few venues around that are decent for like songwriter stuff.
I've seen a few friends go up there, but like as solo, maybe they bring a friend and do a duo, you know.
And there's and I know a few people still up there that are playing, you know, doing their thing. I I think the college helps there. Northern Michigan helps to support that a little bit.
Yeah, that I can imagine, because Marquette is like a pretty decently sized school. Up there.
Yeah.
Like that. There's like a. Is there a few colleges up there, or
Well,
is
Marquette
it
is a different. Marquette is the town. This is
the
always
town?
confusion.
Well, I mean, like, isn't there like a U of M satellite in Marquette? Or is it like what is? Isn't there a college in Marquette though? I thought.
Yeah, Northern Michigan University, NMU.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Is there a few of them up there, or is it like or is it like Winona, where it's like,
So
just like
in Marquette there's one, but then there's in Houghton is Michigan Tech.
Okay. I thought for some reason there were like two tiny little schools in Marquette.
And then in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, there's Lake Superior State University.
Okay. So there's like a little bit of a bleed over.
Yeah, so there's three universities, but they're smaller state schools.
Yeah. I've seen some people do songwriter stuff in Sault Ste. Marie, but like what's like once.
That's where I grew up. There's not a lot there. I actually played my first show ever there a couple summers ago in someone's backyard, like a backyard show, and it turned out great. It was a lot of fun. But that's about what you get there. I mean, the bars, you can play them if you want, but no one will give a shit.
That's kind of what my friend said. Like it was just kind of.
They're kind of just stuck in like the 80s as far as like the musical taste and stuff.
Sure. Yeah, it was like
my experience.
It was like they set up a show because it was like.
Do you know any Poison?
They needed the gig, and it was just like. It's like, all right, yeah, I don't know. It's like I think I only bring it up because it's like when we were talking about that Lake Superior tour, I saw my friend set up a show in Sault Ste. Marie.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, is there a scene out there?
Well, Sioux, Ontario might have some better venues though.
There we go. All right, stand by. Okay, so we just had some Claire Doyle, and then Michael Waite, and then Sarah Morris. So off mic, we were talking about, if you're just tuning into Desert Islands, this is a show where I make mixtapes based on my guests, 10 records they bring to a desert island, making one for Eli Gardiner. And off mic, I was talking with Eli about Upper Peninsula, Michigan connections, specifically in Marquette. But were these artists from Marquette, or are these just artists you kind of, because you have two artists from the UP, one of which we haven't actually played yet. We'll get into them in the next set. But one we just played in this set. So let's talk about your connection to the UP for a little bit. Did you ever get to play with these artists, or were these artists you saw coming up as a songwriter?
Yeah, Michael Waite is someone I saw coming up. He used to have a residency at a Ramada Inn, actually, in Marquette, Michigan. And he would play, I want to say it was every Tuesday. And it was Taco Tuesday. So people come in, eat tacos, and he would play songs, and he was just a natural talent. He's still up there. He's still playing music. Yeah, he's a great guy too.
Nice. And then so let's talk about. So we're gonna hear a track from the Shantymen coming up here. But let's talk about this band. Is this another band? Did you ever get a gig with these guys, or just see them coming up in the scene as well?
It was the same type of thing. I remember I played similar venues. I think we might have played a show once together. But the band is fronted in the principal songwriter is Chris Moore, and he was a friend of mine. He ran live sound at a venue up there called Upfront and Company that was pretty big, and he also had this band, and they were just I think an early influence of mine, just seeing what you can do playing your own original music.
Yeah.
And I love his songs, and this album was just one of my all-time favorites.
Nice. We're going to get to hear it in a little bit. We also heard from your new record, but we brought up your experience in photojournalism. Let's talk about something you're working on kind of in parallel to your work as a performer. But so is this something you curate on your own, or do you have a team when you're doing these sessions? Let's talk about this. Well, I'm going to let you introduce this.
Okay. Yeah. So it's a video series I do in collaboration with the Adventures in Americana folks.
Oh yeah,
it's a blog on a website, and they write articles, do show reviews, and do podcasts. And so I brought them the idea a couple of years ago of a video series of local songwriters playing original music in unique locations.
Yeah.
So that's what my my video series, the North Country Song Sessions, is about. And took a break for the summer, but we've done a couple this the past few months, and it's been great. It's just real stripped down, one camera.
Yeah.
We go to different locations. The last one that came out is the International Treasures.
Ted
Ted and Doyle and Matthew French. We went to the Ryder Homestead concert series out in Delano.
And that's in Delano.
Yeah, and we were on their property.
Yeah, they do cool stuff.
But I've done everything. I think last year, me and James Eugene Russell were around a campfire in the snow, and he's just sang a song there. And so it's all about original music in a setting that kind of helps the song and showcases what the artist can do.
Yeah. Well, you got some heavy hitters on there. I saw the one you did with Mary Cuccifello. If you're not familiar with her, change that because you're not going to be disappointed there. But yeah, so please check this out. Is this on your website or Adventures in Americana website, or does this have its own .com as well?
Yeah, the easiest way is to go to Adventures in Americana. There's a link, and there's a page there just for the series, and then it's the videos live on YouTube as well.
Nice. Well, talking with Eli Gardiner here, we brought up James Eugene Russell. We might as well keep going with the mixtape here because he's the next artist on it. Here is a track called "You Were Right All Along" here on Desert Islands.
There we go. I should be back now. Yeah, I sorry to cut that short. We're less than 20 minutes, so at this point,
yeah, that's great.
We'll probably have one more, and then I'll just kind of briefly sum up where people can find you, and plug the show one more time.
Sounds good.
But yeah, this is just kind of it's always kind of weird. Part of the reason I started pre-taping more of these is because one, I guess I didn't realize how intimidating of an ask it is to be like, hey, you want to just stream live on the air for 2 hours?
Yeah.
And like, some people are really into it, but some people are like constantly having this inner monologue of just like, don't say fuck, don't say fuck, don't say fuck, don't say fuck. Like just,
I can see that going back and forth between live and not live.
Yeah.
I thought that when I was saying that, saying shit, I was like, oh, well,
oh yeah. I mean, the thing is, it's always, I think no one wants to admit that it's like happened to literally everybody, like it's just like, but there's a big difference between me, like I casually swear a lot, which is kind of a problem. I'm very good about it in the classroom. Like I don't, like because like I remember a lesson where like I accidentally did it, and I was just like, no, they're almost like teenagers. They'll probably think it's cool, but like it's just like someone was just like, I'm 12, and I'm like, yeah, you're right, kid. You're right. I'm sorry. My bad. And I owned up to it. It's like I will hold my language to a higher standard. So it's like that's really all you got to do is like kind of. Yeah. It's like where you fail is when you turn into Bill O'Reilly, and when you're caught off camera, like you just get worse, and you're like, no, I'm right, you're wrong, and it becomes like this soundbite, like immortalized forever. Where it's just like, 'cause I think.
I'm sure you weren't even close to that level. So
no, like it's always me like just because I grew up on the East Coast, and there are people who use those words like the way Barack Obama says, like,
yeah,
you know, like there's just like people you grew up. It's like, oh, I was at the gas station and fucking. It's like it's just like that's just the way people talk. You know, it's like I don't think I don't know. I'm not using it with malice. It's just like, oh yeah,
it's punctuation.
Some people don't appreciate that punctuation, and it's more of like me, you know, I got to remember that. But it's also like it's a lot of time, especially with like release cycles. Like so like I appreciate like you even being willing to like carve out, because like 90 minutes is still, you know, you can watch a whole movie in 90 minutes.
I'm glad it worked out. I like doing this kind of stuff. I think I got comfortable doing this kind of thing. Over COVID, really, when everything was like this. So
yeah, it's kind of like, I mean,
it's a special skill knowing how to talk about yourself.
Yeah, because I don't like it at all. In like I find it really kind of, I don't know, like it's
really you want to promote, but you don't want to be like, God, I'm the greatest, and this is everything I do is amazing. That's why I wanted to like with this playlist, I wanted to really put people out there that people might not know about, or locally and you know, regionally. So that's why I thought, that's be a good way to do it. And
I always like when people like actually take the, you know, because it's kind of fun.
Get off the bandwagon, really, too.
Yeah, and it's also kind of fun. Like, I remember doing it with this band I saw years ago in New Mexico, and like one of the band members was just like, they just kind of like found, they're like, what's this station in Minnesota play? You know, and it's like, and that's kind of the fun of just like, wait, what? Like, what do you mean? Like,
yeah, and that's happened to me where just someone random I've never heard of it, and they're like, oh, we're playing. I'm like, oh, that's awesome.
Like, what? It's like, and I always, I mean, that's kind of part of the fun of like doing this for me, is like, just like, okay, you have like, because I as long as there's not swears in the material, you know, like I do want to play everything people send me for that reason, because like sometimes it's just like, there's this band that's awesome, nobody knows who they are, and they deserve.
And that's what it should be about, right? It shouldn't be about gatekeeping or jumping through hoops. It should be about like, this is cool stuff, I want to share it, and I'm thinking on my own. I'm not going off of someone else's opinion. I'm having my own reaction to this and being like, yes,
that's
not checking if it's cool or whatever.
And that's the kind of stuff that's like, it's so hard to break through, because like not everyone enjoys certain things enough where they want to find it on their own. You know, like I'm that way with like TV shows, unfortunately. You know, so like a lot of people like have that, like, oh, that's how they, you know, like they need something to be like, this is the cool thing. And unfortunately, like there is some inept gatekeeping where like there are some gatekeepers that just, they don't like an artist for personal reasons. And like, you know, like a lot of that stuff gets lost, because like there's a lot of that stuff that does happen, and it's annoying. And I don't know, part of the fun of doing this is just like, all right, in the era where that is still prevalent and we have the ability to like go live with our phones, let's, you know, not focus on, because there's always going to be dicks. That's what I'm saying. There's always going to be that. That's always going to be there.
Well, that's why I think what you do and what Adventures in Americana are doing, and in a little bit what I'm trying to do with the song sessions, is where it's like, I have, you know, next month I have some like a really cool person on that we're collaborating with, but also I want to have room to do people like you haven't heard, like people that are just starting out, and give them, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's funny, like how it worked out was that Claire Doyle was the first song session we did.
Yeah, and now she's on Best New Bands.
And it's great to see. I love it. But
yeah.
I think there's the opportunity to think and have your own taste, because, you know, looking back, be like, of course you had Claire Doyle, but no one knew about her music at that time.
Yeah,
and she's still, you know, finding her voice with that. But it's like, I think it's great. I like the kind of stuff she's doing, and I like kind of stuff other people are doing. But
oh yeah,
it's all about finding your own original voice and giving them a spot for that.
It's back to like old school, you know, like in the platonic ideal of like journalism. It's just like we're documenting the scene as it's happening.
Yep.
You know, and it's and like this town has been really good about, like, Undercurrent has been really good about doing it. And even they have been really good about like expanding into trying to get every genre. But like it's really cool to see how, because not every scene has this. Not every scene has people doing this, and I don't know. I try to tell myself I'm not going to take it for granted, but like you always do. Like staying present is a skill. Like you got to work on that. Like it's like you always say, like, and it's just like you get to a point where it's like, I did it. I stayed present. And then your brain is just like, well, all right, we don't have to do that anymore. It's like, no, it's a constant thing. And it's just like I don't know. That's like so like shout out to also people like Simon Calder and Tom Michaels, because Tom Michaels has been recording the Twin Cities scene since like stand by. We're gonna go.
All right.
Here. That's some Norah Jones. That's a throwback to the first time you were on the show. But we did hear some Claire Doyle, and we did hear some James Eugene Russell, and we did hear some Shantymen, some people that you were talking about from the last set from the UP, but also some people playing this weekend, some people playing with you, some people who've done North Country sessions on that. So if you're just tuning in, I know some of you folk are, because it's getting to the top of the hour here at KFAI, Fresh Air Community Radio, 90.3 FM in Minneapolis, or around the world at kfai.org, non-commercial, community-powered radio. This is Desert Islands here on KFAI, and I made a mixtape for Eli Gardiner. Where can people find you? You got the show at the Turf Club, obviously. The Turf Club, let's plug that. But where can people find you if they like what they heard? How can they keep up with Eli Gardiner in the future?
The social media platform I post on usually is Instagram. That's my biggest one. You can go to my website, eligardiner.com. It's GARDINER. And sign up for the mailing list, and that's a good way to keep informed about all the things I'm doing. And it's about it.
Nice.
Band camp
on Adventures Americana, is that usually the best place where those are going to be hosted?
Yeah, if you go to Adventures in Americana, they have a Facebook and an Instagram and a webpage, and or you can do that, or you can find the North Country Song Sessions on YouTube as well.
Perfect. Well, let's talk about this show. When does music start tomorrow? If folks are in the Twin Cities area, you got a show in St. Paul tomorrow at the Turf Club. When does music start? Who's playing with you? It's celebrating the release of Transient. And it's great lineups. Let's talk about this real quick before we get going here.
It's gonna be tomorrow. The Turf Club doors at 7. Nick Hensley starts things off at 7:30. Then we have Emmy Woods and then Ryan Gebhardt, and then I'll be closing the night out with my full band.
Excellent. Eli, thank you so much for coming back to Desert Islands.
Thanks for having me.
Well, of course. It's always great to talk to you.
You too.
So let's close things out with we're gonna get some John Moreland in here, some Dan Schwartz, and but first we're gonna get some Jason Isbell here on Desert Islands. So thank you for hanging out. Next week we are going to talk with I just had a brain fart. Luke Callan. Luke Callan's awesome. Why did I do that? Luke Callan, we're going to be speaking with
Nice.
you. And then the week after that, Nikki Pepper is going to be here. Stay tuned for Democracy Now! I want to thank Eli for coming on the show. Here is Speed Trap Sound by Jason Isbell here. KFAI. Oh, the coffee I need.
She said it's none of my.
I didn't stick the dismount. That's fine. Seriously, thank you so much for coming on. And I am terrible at responding to messages on stuff. I definitely am still open to doing this session.
Let's get you on the books in the next couple months.
Yeah. It's just kind of life. I don't know. Life was last year was like it was kind of hard for me to process because I feel like a lot of people were like, "Oh, I had a bad year," and it's just like I was so busy last year. I didn't really give myself time to judge 2023 good or bad. You know, like I had a lot of things that I was like, that went pretty well. And I didn't even like dwell in any joy. I was just like it was like a playoff run where it's just like, nope, we 8 more wins, Chopper. Like we got, like we it's like, we're not done yet. Like, but even with the bad stuff, I was just like, and so like, I just haven't really had time to like, so I definitely want to do that now that we have time to, but like, we'll find a timeline. Hopefully,
for sure.
Hopefully not in the next couple of weeks.
No. I got one set for this month, and then so we got February, March. We got about 4 or 5 more this
perfect. Yeah.
This round. I usually take a break for the summer.
Yeah. It's like one that you kind of have to. Otherwise, I think that's the thing I want to focus on this year is like the balance of everything. And I am terrible at that. Like, it's just like, because it's once things get overloaded, it's like way easier to stay in motion because you're going to crash and everything is going to crash if you don't. And it's just like, I think this year it's more of like, how do I never get into that position? Or at least
it's learning how to say no, but also learning to pick the right things at the right time. And because I've learned that too, where it's like I want to play shows every weekend, but is that always the best thing?
No, I don't think. I mean, like it. Yeah, well, it's also like I feel like I'm one of the few people, like, because in industry terms, let me get back to you on that always means no. But like, I'm one of the few people when I say like, let me get back to you, and like, I actually mean that because it's like I'm literally like the only cook in the kitchen. I'm just like, all right, it's like I actually do want to get back to, but so it's like I definitely, but like I also want to give grace to other people because it's like I like you said, you're literally in a similar position of just like,
right,
and you're not the only person wearing multiple hats and keeping multiple things in the fire. Sign of the times. I feel like artists have always had to do this, but like, it's kind of like group projects. There's always a few handful of people where it's like, well, it's like these 5 people did most of the work anyway. It just kind of shakes out that way. I don't not a good or a bad thing as much as it just is.
I find it rewarding kind of doing all that stuff. So I think it's great what you're doing too. So it's good to see.
Appreciate it. And thanks for stopping by. I am going to, because we got 60 seconds.
Okay.
I'm going to make sure John Moreland gets credit for this tune first. And then I think I'm going to shut this down because I got to make sure Democracy Now! Starts.
Sounds good.
But I had a really good time. This was awesome.
This is great.
Thanks for the virtual hang. It's like this is kind of how I do coffee with friends now. So it was really cool to hang out with you. I'm gonna do my best to come to the show.
Okay.
Just it's not it's more of a still nursing the old foot, and I'm gonna see how tonight feels.
Okay.
If tonight is just like, that sucked, my dogs are barking, I unfortunately, but if I survive, I'm gonna see you tomorrow. But
That'd be great.
If I wimp out, please don't take it personally.
No problem.
It's just the timing of tis the season. Ice is here. I didn't want it to be here, and now it is. But good luck tomorrow, regardless. I definitely want to make it out, because I actually think I have a window where I can for once. But in case I don't, let's talk soon.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
Congratulations on the
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll get a hold of you about everything. That'd be great, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll keep in touch. And once I get through this day, we'll keep that ball rolling. But it's awesome to see you.
You too.
And have a good one.
All right.